Coming to you live from the Pensado Theater at the all-new SAE Los Angeles campus. Pensado's Place is brought to you by Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Aftermaster, Isotope, Studio 202 DC, Avid, and The Recording Connection.
Producer, mixer, vice president of A&R, label chief, studio owner, 53 platinum records. Our guest is an absolute beast, and he also happens to be a mensch. Pull out your calendar, mark August 30th. It's going to be a blast, an absolute doozy. We've got a brand new ITL today. Let's get it popping. You're at the place. It's Pensado's Place.
Yay. Hi everybody, glad you could join us today. Gonna have a lot of fun. Man, this is hard work.
Is that your contributions this week? Is that all you got?
You know,
it must be the NBA Finals. It's taking it out of you.
I'm not that smart. There's a lot of thinking and
stuff.
I rehearsed that in front of the mirror for like 2 days.
Well, you did really well with
Thanks,
it.
sir.
I just didn't know if you had a follow-up. Are you done?
I didn't know I was supposed to have a follow-up.
Oh, want me to take it from here?
Yeah,
okay, I'll
please.
take it from here. Good. Hey, gang, how you doing? Always the highlight of our week to be with you. Thanks for the likes and subscribes.
Absolutely.
Please keep it up. It's incredibly important. Our partners in our audio foxhole are, of course, Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Aftermaster, Isotope, Avid, Recording Connection, Studio 202 DC. They ensure we keep this show free for you. You can ensure it by supporting them if you would. That's also most appreciated. Let's check in with the host of the Corner Office. Of course, his name is... Sean What's happening, young man?
Just hanging out, man. It's going to be a good show today.
Yeah, lots of learning from this week's guest, correct?
Can I get
Correct.
a copy of that when he graduates in a couple of weeks? We got to be there and with like some amplification when he gets on stage to get his degree.
We'll do that.
Can you
Like-
imagine?
like a boombox,
Sean Gore.
Yeah, in fact, I just want to mention you got a milestone coming up. I happen to know pretty firsthand how hard you've worked. You
Yeah.
excited to get through this?
I'm ready. It's nine more days and I'm done.
Yeah? Good. Well,
begins.
what he won't tell you is he's got a spectacular GPA. He's worked very hard. And I just want to tell you, I work out with the guy. So Chongor has some sort of psychotic overachiever thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just take a look at this video of a push-up Chongor did. Now, understand before you run it, he's been in the gym 3 weeks. He joined like 3 weeks. Check out this video.
Okay.
Now, that is Mr. Psycho. That is from a flat ground start. How many boxes were up?
There's 9 boxes with then the box on top of it.
So he went from the ground up to 9 boxes with a box on top of it. Now, he'll do that after an hour's worth of class. So,
But can you push up a fader?
no.
Okay.
So congratulations, Chongor. You know, that's a lot of work. I've watched it and monitored it. I know how much it takes. So we also want to give congratulations to another friend of the show. Our boy, Evan Bowser, just graduated from high school, got an Ovation Launchpad from his grandma,
Evan.
mastered it in 47 seconds, has his music out on SoundCloud, and he is...
Making us look bad.
Yeah. No, I tried to get him one, and grandmother beat me to the punch. I was calling or making, high-powered connections.
I'll take it.
And his grandmother's son, his father said, she's already got it. He's already mastered it. So I went past
That's
it.
cool. Congratulations, Evan.
I can tell you this is a great young man. He's son of Kyle and Yvette, and we salute you, dude. Great work. And by the way, anybody else who wants to give their loved one props for graduating, send their names to info@pensadosplace.tv. You can see it right here below me. Send it there. We'll create a Pensado's Place honor roll and include their names. Again, info@pensadosplace.tv, and we'll hook your loved one right up. Look, it's important to encourage folks. Education is a big part of what it is. It's a big journey. So whether it's high school, college, recording program, wherever, why don't you send us their names and let's make sure we acknowledge them. DP, you got an ITL for today?
I do. Kick drums adding punch. Hey guys, sometimes you want a little more punch in your kick drum, and there's a number of ways to get it. I think this is probably one of the harder ways, but it's the more fun way to do it. Sometimes I do things just because I enjoy it. Now here's my kick drum without the punch. I showed you this kick drum before. Now I made a copy of the original kick drum sound, which is right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of the way a particular piece of gear works. When I first started engineering, I didn't have any money, and I made my own gates, and I didn't realize it, and I had the gate open too fast. But when I put it on kick drums, I liked what it added to the attack. So grab any gate you want. You want to have control over the attack and release. All gates probably do that. And so what we're doing is we're kind of messing with the gate. So here we go. Like that. Now, you say, well, Dave, that's pretty horrible, and I'd say, you're right. So let's take and only leave what we need. So we don't need anything. Well, let's hear it. Let's try it in our mix. Without it. With it. Gives you some little speaker sounds that's going to come through great when you listen to it on little speakers. So let me show you what we're doing. It feels like the volume went up, but it didn't, because how can just that raise the volume, you know? That's all we're adding. Give it a try. Thanks, guys.
So when you called and said we got Brian, we both sort of flashed on the kind of incredible history and the diversity of his career, right?
Absolutely.
I think they're going to enjoy this show. We had a chance to chat with an incredible guy. Enjoy our visit with Brian Maloof. If there is such a thing as a quintuple hyphenate, I'm not sure there is, but our guest is probably the closest thing to it. Imagine this: platinum producer, mixer, engineer, label vice president, and now label owner. How about artists? Small names. Dave Matthews, Pearl Jam, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, Queen, Wolfmother. I'm not going to go on because I could take up the whole show.
Verve Pipe. I love Verve Pipe.
Verve Pipe, as Dave said. We are pleased to welcome to our desk not only a supremely gifted guy, but also a really good dude. Brian Maloof. Welcome to Pensado
Brian, what's
Thanks
up?
for having me.
Great to reconnect,
It's an
right?
honor to be here.
Yeah, I've
we
known
go-
Brian for like 20
Well, we all
20,
have.
24 years,
We
yeah.
just found out how far back we go.
Right.
Far away there, guy.
Okay. One of the things that I want our audience to know, and I think you're like Herb said, you have a lot of hyphens in between the things you do. Start me out from the beginning and give me like a 30-second list of your accomplishments and how you ended up here.
I'd start with being the drummer in the band. Legit percussion came before that, but I found myself being the leader of the band. Booking the band, being the PA runner. From stage with headphones. Everything sort of grew from that. I think it really grew from transcribing all the records that we used to play.
Wow.
We in those days you had two choices. You could have day jobs, you could have a job doing nightclubs and
That's right.
playing covers, right?
Yep.
I was the guy that transcribed all of the top 40 records that we played, and I really learned how people were making records. I learned how it all fit together just by doing those transcriptions and arrangements for our band. So
Wow.
then, you know, the guy in the band that did the PA, then the guy in the band that when he wanted to stop playing called the producer and said, hey, the only thing I really like doing besides playing is engineering. What do I do?
Wow.
And the guy who had sort of taken us under his wing, his name is Roger Paglia, said, sit tight for 10 minutes. And he called over to a place where he had interned, and he calls me back 10 minutes later. He says, show up to El Dorado Recording Studios at 10 a.m. on Monday morning. This was a Saturday.
I'll be damned.
And I began an internship there that lasted 9 months. And then I got my first job, you know, where I was being paid at Can-Am. And I told you the story earlier, how I got that virus and became paralyzed. That happened the weekend before I was supposed to start Can-Am.
Are you kidding me? Wow.
So
Can-Am and Tarzana.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And you know, the guy who owned the studio said, "Oh, don't worry, you know, I'll wait." And he was running the place by himself. I mean, it had fallen on hard times. It wasn't that old of a studio to begin with, but his partner had left. Anyway, he waited for me, and I got my feet back under me, and I went and I started. And you know,
And
I got lucky with some clients that walked through the door.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson walked through the door. We became buddies, and
wow.
kind of took off from there.
What I find amazing are two things. One is you don't get to that point unless you stay curious. Right. You have to sort of let one thing inspire you and lead you to the other thing, and you kind of go from inspiration point to inspiration point. All the folks I know who've done that and whatever we've done, you find that thing, and you never really lose that curiosity. I find that's what, and then you have to be willing to work.
You have to be able to be. I always, you know, like to say you got to be prepared when opportunity knocks.
That's
you
right.
know?
That's
the
right.
door could open. You got to be able to walk through it. And
A dynamic that also never changes. It
Never
doesn't matter.
changes.
That's going to be part of. It's going to be part of your life anyways,
Yeah.
and certainly is true of media, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we've known each other a long time, but I thought this was kind of particularly neat was the fact that it seems like most of the time when you moved up, like when you went into the real world of record executives, it seemed like you always took a pay cut.
I did.
But then eventually you made more than, and
Right.
that takes a lot of guts.
It does. I guess. I don't know. It didn't,
In hindsight, you're going, "Damn, did I do that?"
it's just something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, Dave, the mixer is a hermit. He's a living hermit.
Boy, he sure is.
And at some point, you know, tapes in, mix tapes out, every day for
Exactly.
13 years, and
Drive
I
me
needed
crazy.
something else.
Yeah.
And the money is secondary. I thought, wow, I've been going out and seeing bands. I bet you I could do something with that band. Let's see. Let's see if it'll work. And it was Everclear. It was,
Wow. Jeez.
the Verve Pipe, like you
you
mentioned.
basically got Everclear signed, didn't you? Your demos.
The records we did it, yeah.
Wow.
But that is also another thing that is amazing for guys who are creative, because you actually can prove that you can do this, because you can bring a band in, do something with it, and then go show it. And
Right.
people don't sort of think outside the box enough to realize that that's available to you. And the art form of that is a whole separate thing. People,
Right.
until you do it, you don't really understand that, right? Because
Right.
people look at record companies like, oh, this really bad thing, and it's not exactly true. There's a lot of dedicated people
Lot of it.
working
Lot of
really
it.
hard,
Really
to
hard.
in a very tough environment.
Yeah.
And people have no idea how competitive it is, how tough it is, and the ones who truly have that gift are the ones who help us find those really special moments. It's not something necessarily to always knock, and sometimes you can learn from that. Is that a fair statement?
Very fair. And one little step further is corporations of any kind are just people, just a group of people. So just like in any population, there's going to be the people you want to seek out and the people you're going to want to stay away from.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. That's kind of how we feel about our sponsor partners.
Yeah.
I was just sitting there thinking when Herb was talking about your path, and the modern day version of what we did was, because we love PA systems. We had bands that played cover songs, but the modern day DJ kind of gets exposed to all that different kind of music, and so it's not unusual that a really talented producer now, started as a DJ, whereas in our time period, when we were coming up, it was learning by playing records and teaching them to the other band members and all that. That's kind of neat.
right.
I just thought about that. But my career arc started as playing in bands, and then I had a affinity, one to own the PA, one to all that. But I've said several times that experience is a big part of the foundation of me being successful as a mix engineer, because you kind of learned from exposure to all kinds of different people how to entertain them. Did that work that same way for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. And specifically, I would say that doing live sound is much harder than studio engineering. But I'll tell you one little story that, my band used to play at Knott's Berry Farm in the summers. We did 2 weeks, 3-4 weeks a year, every year. They loved us there.
Was this the band with Giant in the title?
Giant City, yeah.
Giant City, I knew it.
So, at Knott's Berry Farm, they hire kids for the summer. And one day the kid might be, making the popcorn and selling it. The next day he might be sweeping the sidewalks, and the next day he might be mixing the band.
Right, exactly.
And there was a guy who kind of ran those kids. He was he was actually the guy who was the sound engineer. But these kids would come through, different person every night. Of course, we as a band, we were sweating bullets.
Sure.
We don't
You
know
didn't
how
know
it
what you were
sounds
gonna
out
get.
there.
Sure.
So I asked him one day. I said, "How do you?" But the reports were always good. Our friends would come and I say, "How do we sound?" And they say, "They sounded great. You guys have never sounded better." So I asked the guy once. I said, "How do you teach these kids who don't know anything about music how to mix us? Because I hear it sounds good out there." And he goes, "Well, there's the after fade listen, the AFL button, and they have one headphone, and they press each button along the line. And they identify in their headphone what's coming through that mic channel. And then they take the headphone away, and if they could hear that in the PA, then it's good.
Wow.
If they can't hear it, they have to turn it up. If it
That's
sounds
simple.
too loud, they have to turn it down. That's the only instruction I give them."
Wow.
And I thought, that's one of those really simple, great little...
Just brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think, it's interesting the point you make, because when you delve in that way and you get to those nuggets, those insights, they become the foundational stuff that shape.
I still do that.
Exactly. Exactly.
And now that everything, like we used to have to listen to, we didn't know where the music was and we're listening to tape. Now you can see a visual representation of the waveforms, so it's easier to zero in.
Yeah.
But once I get the song going, I now start from the top and go all the way to the bottom, and I listen to see if I can hear. I use that lesson to this day. 40 years later or whatever it is,
Amazing.
And that's the fun part about, finishing up a mix. You go, "Oh, wow. I heard the rest of this guitar part, but I never noticed that little section there in the bridge." And then you play around with it and you make it something fun out of it.
One of the balances that we're always dealing with is how do you let the convergence of technology work for you, but not enslave you? Because when it enslaves you, you miss things like character, or that mistake that all of a sudden just becomes a signature thing, or that accident that becomes. And so you have to toe the line, and particularly with people Chongor's age come up and they're just constantly in their machines, and there's advantages to that, but we're always saying, we call it the head down society. And sometimes you got to put your head up.
Absolutely.
And just let stuff in. And I would you say from your perspective, because it strikes me with the diversity of your career, you'd be a great mentor. As you see kids coming up, what advice do you give them? Is it keep one foot here and one foot there? Is it straddle the?
Yeah,
the fence?
that's a pretty good piece of advice there. And I tell them something that I don't want to hear anymore, but I say, go out
Yeah.
at night, listen to music.
Yeah.
Go out, and then when the band's done, go talk to them.
Yeah. Yep. Can't beat
Talk to the guys that are next to you who are going to go talk to them. Just be in it. Be at the club. Be in the music.
I'm still a sound check freak. If I can go to a sound check and just sit in the corner, I feel like it's a velvet rope thing, but there's so much information when guys are relaxed and they're noodling and they're just doing their thing and getting comfortable. And boy, it is amazing what you take away.
Sometimes you see a song get written at those sound checks.
More often than you think.
A lot.
No question. You see something get worked out.
You bet.
Yeah, it's really cool. One of the things about Brian Maloof that has always existed is this incredible diversity. I mean, it's just amazing. Is it taste, curiosity, boredom? Is it just the way you're constructed? Because different people do it differently. You've always had a diverse. Is Michael Jackson one moment and Wolfmother the next, or Queen, or Pearl Jam? Where does that come from? Is it
I think it goes back to that first thing where I was transcribing top 40 hits. Because in the 70s, top 40 was truly like it'd be Ohio Players,
Yes,
then it
indeed.
would be the Carpenters.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And we had to be able to play all that stuff and wanted to. And Steely Dan was in there, and Michael Jackson was in there. You
Absolutely.
know, all the Tower Power.
Oh,
you know?
stop. I literally, you're describing the CD I was driving, coming here.
Right.
That's frightening. Like,
So I
just
never-
was listening to Squib Cakes all the way here.
Oh, I love that. I just had a whole Tower Power day at my house.
Yeah.
You know, I just selected that artist on my playlist and just heard every
Phenomenal.
song.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Can you sing along with Pick Out the Pieces?
I played that song 100,000 times in my life. You bet I can sing along with it. So I'm not particularly a music snob. You know, I don't feel like because I love jazz that excludes me from loving, you know, pop.
Right.
And vice versa.
Right.
And because I love rock, it doesn't exclude me from loving country. You know, it's that they actually go well together.
They
But
do, actually.
you know what I mean. I also don't think, and I hope I'm right about this, I don't think I put a stamp on anything. I really think I react to what's coming at me through the speakers. So that tends to not pigeonhole me.
It took a minute though, didn't it?
To
To be able to do all forms, because you were labeled an R&B guy to begin with. How did you get from that point to being able to do the rock stuff?
That's a great story. I'll tell you that story. I think, I did the early Pearl Jam stuff, and I'm not sure if that came before or after this little story I'm going to tell you, but there was a band called Slaughter. Do you guys remember those guys?
Of course. Yeah.
And they had a huge album. I mixed that album. They had 4 or 5 hits off of it.
Yep.
And I asked the guy in the band, I said, what made you guys call me? Because that was like, they were like Def Leppard.
Absolutely.
You know, that's
Completely correct.
and that's the way it was all constructed. There was 5 different kick drum sounds, you know, that whole thing.
Metal hair band. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a really sweet guy with a beautiful voice, Mark Slaughter. Why did you guys pick me? And they said, it was that kick drum sound you got, and they named some R&B record I had done. I can't remember what it was. It might have been...
That's amazing.
I can't remember what it was, but they had heard an R&B album I had done, and he said, I love the bottom end you get in your R&B records. I said, oh, really? I didn't know there was a, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like, I'm just reacting to what's coming to me. And I think it's just from that top 40 and those arrangements.
But I also think that people who love music, like you're describing, listen to lots of music, and you just don't know the thing that you do that may move somebody to make a move your way. You know, we have found that version kind of with digital web television. You just don't know, and all of a sudden, boom. And then it makes you go back and dig in deeper and try to find and go harder and broader. And in your career, because we both spent time at RCA back in those heydays, the Halcyon days, and Ron Fair was there, and Bruce, all those guys. And they were trying to have an environment where they would have a fairly broad cross-section of things and folks who could handle that kind of stuff, didn't you think? And,
Yeah.
and I thought it was always interesting to walk into a place and just hear the music coming from different places and informing each other. I think that collegial environment is missed today. People are sometimes off in their own boxes too much.
Yeah.
Fair statement?
Very fair, and particularly at RCA, what you just mentioned. You know, when I first went there, it was the record cemetery of America. All the negative connotations
That's
that
exactly
RCA had attached to it at that time, and the thinking was, well, if I fail there, I can always blame it on the environment. If I succeed, wow, won't that be a miracle? You know, that you could succeed in that environment. And I think everybody, because we were so under attack from the outside, you know, everybody's slinging arrows at us, we circled the wagon.
We sure did.
And that
Sure
gave
did.
us a very free environment, no politics, because we were really one for all and all for one, because everybody else was against us. Everybody else was against us.
unreal.
So all we had was each other.
Yep, yep.
And that's the way successful bands make it. You know, that's that teamwork. It's that love for each other. and wanting everybody to do well.
And a little healthy of us against them never hurts.
No.
It really, I mean, if you're competitive, you know, you need to. So you're inside, you're a record executive now, you've produced, you've mixed, you've done these diverse things. Had to be a huge effect on you as an executive on a two-way street. Things that you would bring in, and then the way you would communicate back to people who had their own vision. Wasn't it helped because you had been in such a creative environment beforehand to be able to communicate with people? Because
I think so. And
that's difficult psychology. It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. You're right. And my whole MO was as a collaborator, you know, my whole life. So it was natural for me to take an Eve 6 record to my rock promotion guy and say, hey, what do you think?
Right.
You know, I was not siloed.
Right.
I was not protective. I didn't want to be overly influenced by somebody's negative opinion because those are easy to find. But I was a collaborator at heart when I got into that corporate environment, and it was helpful to gather support from important corners of the company, like press, like mainly radio promotion, like the person who was doing the artist development with me.
Important.
Very
important
important.
stuff.
Brian, the videos that you're doing, the mix tip videos, they're so compact. They're just like little nuggets. I really enjoy those. You guys need to go check those out. They're amazing. One of the things that it seems like you and I talked about a long time ago, and I hear it still in your work, is the way you like to think of a mix is you put the bass on one end and the vocals on the other, and then you fill in the middle. Are you still doing that?
I still do that.
Can you explain that to our audience? Because I think that's a great way to work.
Well, it came from those early Michael Jackson sessions, and my real partner in crime in those sessions was a guy called John Barnes.
Oh, of course.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, John was a really gifted person, as you guys remember. Still is.
Still is.
And the way he would write songs would be, he had this portable cassette deck, and it had the ability to sync. It had sound on sound, or whatever they called that. You know, they had a little trademark for it. And so you could record one thing, and then play it back and record one other thing. You had two things you could do.
Two things, that was it.
And that's what he used to write on.
I'll be damned.
And one side was the bass, and the other side was the melody.
I'll be damned.
And that struck me as just so poetic. And the other thing that it meshed with my sensibility about that was that I always felt like Paul McCartney sang to his bass parts. He was playing a melodic bass line that anchored down the song, but it played against the melody so importantly that I've always thought that was that's how you build the house. You know.
What an interesting thought. Now I'm going to go back and listen to all your records again.
Your philosophy also, I think I want them to know, where in order to make your mixes as loud as possible rather than reach for a limiter on the stereo bus, you've got this concept. It feels like you rely on the arrangement to do some of explain the importance of arrangement for you, because you started wanting to be an arranger back at CSUN, and how do you use that to get volume?
Well,
apparent volumes.
Apparent volume is exactly the thing. And I mean, it's a simple, one of those little simple lessons. If you're in that situation and you've got the headphone and the AFL and you're pushing up, and no matter what you do, you can't hear it, it doesn't belong. So you either remove it, so you do your bit of arranging in the mix room, or you sculpt it with equalizers mainly, and mainly subtractive equalizers. You know, you take things away, and then what's left is what you can hear and easily hear, and what you can use. A lot of that is, you know, and this is no secret, is the lower frequencies that don't need to be there. Some low mids. You know, when you start sculpting that and you leave the essence of the sound, that becomes an arrangement choice.
When I first started engineering, I'd hear people say things like sculpting and you cut, don't boost, great engineers cut. That just confused the hell out of me. So can you be a little more specific? Like you're saying, take out some 300-400, that? Or
That's one of those, a little lower sometimes, 250, 200. That's kind of a magic subtractive area that a lot shines through when you remove that kind of muddy region. And you know, people are surprised when I say this, but I like to take 100 cycles away from bass. You know, there's still plenty left if you take it away, and then you can turn the bass up, and you're really hearing the notes he's playing, but there's no mud. I suspect that happened a lot with the Beatles recordings, because there's a big, huge, full bass, and yet you can hear every note.
And you never get exhausted.
And you don't get tired.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken like the Waves SSL and just cycled through all of Chris Lorialchi's presets to see what he does?
Oh yeah, I did that when I first got that.
He takes out a lot of stuff. It's kind of cool, isn't it? It's cheating.
That's such a great gift, I want to say, to all these plug-in manufacturers. It's such a great gift to people to give them a glimpse into our peers. Because I don't know about you, but I didn't really grow up learning from... I learned from two people, Dave Jordan and his assistant Sarko, and I got thrown to the wolves at Can-Am, and I didn't really assist that much.
Right.
You know, we kind of hit the ground running. So you know, getting a glimpse into all these presets that people use is like, oh my goodness.
Well, that's what, you know, when we talk about this, particularly from his perspective, that's what the show is for us. Like, Dave will call me back and go, I can't believe he does that. I'm going to do that on my next record.
Right. Yeah, I've learned more than anybody. I swear.
No, it's true, and me too. And I don't even do it.
You know, Herb, you and I talked about this a long time ago, like years and years ago. Sometimes learning is just getting certification that what you're doing is what the big guys that you admire do.
No question
Sometimes
about it.
learning is sitting across from you, and you say you did something, and I go, damn, I do that too. I must be good too. Well, not really, but.
Well, go ahead.
No, and in the old days, like, you said something to me the other day on the phone, and I didn't say it back to you because I kind of wanted to save it for here. There was this
Was it
studio.
goodbye? Was that the thing?
Which one?
Goodbye, is that what I said? Oh, okay,
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Well, there was a studio called the Enterprise.
Sure.
And it was a beautiful facility, and there was 2 or 3 rooms, and
spent a
Dave and
lot
I
of
were
time
there
there.
together a lot. And he's I can't remember what you said, but I realized he was doing to me what I was doing to him. There was a guy there who has become very famous in the meantime, Manny.
Sure.
And I would say, Manny, what did Dave do on this? And then
that's
he
so
told
cool.
me that you just told me that you did that somehow too.
Oh, of course, I do that all the time.
And that's the only way we could learn,
That's right.
Now, there's so much knowledge available at any search engine or in any plug-in menu
or
of
your
user
little
settings.
videos. Or not
My
little
videos,
your
yeah.
short videos.
Well, and you know, as somebody who came from the record side and then, you know, have been so welcomed into the audio community, which I find is full of nothing but brilliant people who do amazing things. You know, I can do chapter and verse on that. But what was interesting about the idea of talking to each other and going, oh, I didn't know that happened. I mean, Pensado's place was really born. Dave was doing this 20 years ago. If you stopped by Dave's room, there was a conversation going on. There was a bunch of sharing going on. He always was a big share kind of guy. When back then you didn't share.
Right.
You know,
A lot of people. Some did, yeah.
Well, but usually as guys who would hire
the norm.
you hired somebody because they had a special significant, you know, signature, and you weren't going to get that some other place.
Some guys are very protective. I don't believe in that
Either.
either.
And moving
It's
forward,
obsolete now.
well, I was
it is.
saying, moving forward, the challenge now is there's so much information that you have to bring it back down to something that's bite-sized and manageable. Do you agree? with
That's
that?
why the videos are so short.
Yeah.
You know, that was the direction I got from my producer,
Sure.
Cindy Malouf. You know, you make them short.
He's correct, by the way.
Hey, I
Try
got
to
a
do the same
question for
thing.
you. When did you ever do this? When you went into a room that you hadn't been in a while, you'd look and see what the gear was set, the settings that they would leave on the gear, and then you'd ask the assistant who was in here last, and then you'd look at those. Well, when I realized that some of us did that, I would be a little paranoid, so I make sure I tried to leave
Change
some
the
cool
settings.
things. No, not change it. I wanted to go, son of a bitch, Pensado did that. That's kind of cool. So I was leaving presets and things, and I'd put my name on everything
Sure.
so they could make sure, because I wanted people to go, because I didn't know if I was good or not. You know, when you have hit records, you don't know they're hit records because we're in a cave, and so when the concept that something you worked on in such a solo mode, a few million people like it, doesn't really sink in for years and years and years. And so when I just wanted Alan Meyerson to go into a room after me and just go, son of a bitch,
That's
Dave
what he
is
does.
good.
Let's go into the corner office and see. Chongor, you got a question over there for us?
Got lots of great questions. This first one's from Michael Graham. What's the strangest technique you've ever used when mixing or engineering?
I don't think anything I do is strange.
It's all normal.
It's
whatever
all
it is.
normal to me. I guess back in the day when I would run out of sound on a snare drum, I'd duplicate it and I would just mult it to another fader, and I didn't realize that what it was called, but I guess that was parallel compression or parallel whatever I was doing. I just, I can't do anything more with that channel.
Right.
Give me another one.
Exactly.
Right. Now I think the most interesting thing I do is my mix template, where I can make all the stems that all these people want with one pass.
Right.
I think that's
wow.
That's a really.
I think I learned parallel compression by following Jean-Marie Horvat, who had been in New York. I followed him, and I think he was in my room at Enterprise, and when I went back in, I asked the assistant. I can't remember, he might have shown it to me, but yeah, anyway, sorry.
Chongor, give us another one.
From Aaron Campbell. What's your favorite way of resetting your ears after mixing for a long time?
Ooh, great
Is there a way to get a new perspective while you're mixing?
I think there is. So the first half of the question is you just walk away. You go. I enjoy things. I enjoy cleaning things. I like vacuuming. I like sweeping my pool.
Me too. Oh, God,
Am I going to get a little short video on that? like Simple Green or Windex or okay?
Anything that I can do to clean up the kit. I like playing with my dog. Whatever.
It zens you out.
It sends you out.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think this is the greatest thing about unlocking the studio experience. The way we came up was like, you rented the place for 12 hours and you better get it all done in those 12 hours.
Yeah.
Now that we don't have to do that, I come back the next day.
Yeah.
I come back 3 hours later.
Right.
I do another project. So, okay, I'm done with that for right now. So I'll put up this other thing that I started yesterday, and just keep rotating. And then while I'm mixing, I like going to the back of the room, and I take my little iPad and I work the desk from my iPad and make changes from kind of like Amit Erdogan told me. This is in one of my little videos too. I said, Amit, why are you sitting off to the side? You should sit between the speakers. He said, no, I like listening in mono. He says it gives me a better perception of what the real levels are like. Because that's another trick we use, and it's not valid.
The old Studer speaker.
Well, it's like, oh God, I can't hear this guitar part. Well, if I throw it really hard left, I can hear it now. Well, boom, as soon as you put it back in mono, if it's not loud enough or it's not poking through, you can't hear it anymore, and that was his perspective. So sitting in the back of the room and still be able to actually change things like level and EQ and effects has been a really great reset for me.
I remember one of the things I may have learned from you was, as a manager, when I would come in to check a mix or hear a mix on behalf of the client and stuff, I used to want the levels down.
Yeah,
So I could just
I learned that
hear.
from John Gass.
And I think I learned it from you because the colors would come through and the other nuance and things would come through if it was done correctly.
Yeah.
And if you're just being blasted, I like loud music. Look, I'm the irritant in LA that's pulling up beside you with all the windows down, except I'm playing Back in Black, and people look over and they go,
Hold up.
well, they're going, what?
Let me run back over to the corner office for a second, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
Remember when we were in Nashville, known for country music, and we were going down the street with the windows
Pick
down?
up the pieces.
Pick up the pieces so loud that like rappers would ask us to turn it down when we pull into a traffic light. And then we pull into this really nice restaurant, and I'm thinking, I hope Herb turns this down because we got this is a fancy restaurant. Remember that, Chongor?
Full volume.
He likes it loud.
Yeah, we were having a good time. Now you need to cue up your arm, Mr. Athletic. You got your batter's box ready?
I do.
Now we have rosin, we have eye stripes, we have other.
I'm
Let me know if you need
nervous about
anything.
this.
No,
I think
I
I'm a subscriber. I've seen this.
just
I'm
dig in at
nervous.
the plate and use bat speed, and you'll be good. Are you ready?
Yeah, just like the Pacquiao fight. I paid him to throw the fight, so.
Oh, let's not go there. They owe us money. They owe us money back from that. All right, batter's box is teed up. First pitch.
Kick.
Neve.
Ooh.
Man, I should have put in the no Neve rule. Guitar.
API.
I love APIs. Vocals.
Good bat speed.
1176.
I'm gonna get him.
Okay. Because so far you have not gotten it more.
He should have said Joe Meek. So let's
That's okay.
let's take it away for that. Compressor.
1176.
I thought he was gonna say Joe Meek. Verb.
Lexicon, any lexicon.
Preset. Give me a preset.
I chamber on a 224. Silica beads on a 480.
I love silica beads.
Love silica beads.
Stereo bus.
Oh boy, it goes. I have a variety. It's a chain,
I'll take
and
it.
it changes a lot. But a constant is the ML4000.
Cool. Colin McDowell.
Yeah, another
DSP.
constant is the SSL bus compressor. I'm favoring the universal audio one now. Another constant is the isotope. What's that one called?
Ozone 6.
Ozone.
Nice.
Well, you just named all our sponsors. That
Absolutely.
was
Good night.
good. If your studio caught fire, what one piece of gear would you grab?
The Telefunken 251. Right after my dog.
There you go. There you go.
Piano.
Yamaha C7.
Overheads. And this is a trick question.
C12. But a C24 version, so that it's...
You were supposed to say that sometimes when you don't like the snare sound, you'll go to the overheads to try and improve the snare sound. But okay, it's your.
Yeah, actually, I'll tell you overheads. I always put a microphone over the guy's shoulder, usually a Neumann, so that you get the drummer's ear.
Okay,
from the snare.
don't get too smart-ass on me here.
Sorry.
Equalizer.
Boy, that is a large package. You know, for really microscopic work, I use the Brainworks BX Hybrid. For character, I love this Brilliance pack.
The M&I
Soft Tube.
Yeah.
And the Summit, also by Soft Tube.
Wow.
You get a lot done with those EQs.
You know what I'm heard about?
What?
I have longed for the day in all my life that somebody comes up to me and says what he says. God, that's just such a large package. It just never happened. So the myth is not necessarily real.
I was looking in your direction when I said that.
Wow. Okay, Chungor.
I feel closer.
Okay.
His bat speed on that was
he kicked my
for
ass.
somebody nervous.
I tried to throw him off with little things, and he'd still. Yeah, that was really good. That was fun.
You know,
that was a good
absolutely
one.
good.
Good job.
The
I need your approbation really bad right now.
no, you got it. You absolutely have it. You know, with the pleasure and luxury of what we get to do each week, this is the highlight of Dave and I's week. We always sit across from people we admire and we learn from, and also happen to be friends. But we never get enough of them in this first interview. So I'm always stalking you and saying, will you come back? Will you do stuff with us? Would you?
This is such an honor. I would come back tomorrow if you
Oh,
asked me.
listen, I think we're in some interesting conversations. We're going to be able to do some applications and things in the future. You and I are going to talk about your mixed tips things too. There's some interesting stuff for us to talk about there.
Really
Yeah,
good.
well, he's really
glad
good.
you like him.
So we'll talk to you about Pro Committee and all the other. You're going to be pensadoed up. So
All right, I'm
have
ready.
the Maloofs ready to go. It is a pleasure to see you again.
Pleasure to see you.
First of
Really
many, bro.
mean it.
Absolutely. Don't forget, look right below me. Go to our recall section at pensadosplace.tv for further exclusive content with our great guest, Brian Maloof. DP, take us home, man.
Okay. I don't know what he's got against green, but the Joe Meek's a good compressor. I don't know. We'll go into that later. But you know, one of the things sitting here, hanging out with Brian today, reinforces some of the things I keep saying to you guys, and that's the importance of surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and people, in my case, that are better than me, and it helps you grow. You get challenged, and it's great to have that support. Now, there's modern day versions of that concept. The Pensado Students is a good place, group on Facebook. It's a good place to start. Those guys, they self-police and they do a good job. But find some real people. Find some people that you can start with. I started with my buddy Larry in Atlanta, and it's so important. I say it a lot. I don't mean to be a broken record, but if I'm here to help you guys out, I got to say it till you do it. It's really a good concept to have cats like that you can walk across the hall and compare notes with and stuff and get inspired by. So we had a lot of fun. Hope you did too. See you next week.